Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. This is the truth you need to hear if you've been chasing a man who seems like he's always a step ahead. You see, relationships aren't about running. They're not about begging. They're about energy. That's right, energy. The vibe you give off is the signal he picks up on first before he even hears your words. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something most people don't fully understand, and it's simple, yet it's powerful. It's something that governs every single interaction you have in your life, whether you're aware of it or not. That thing is energy. I'm talking about the energy you carry, the vibe you give off, the feeling that radiates from you before you even say a word. Energy is everything in human connection. And I don't care how smart you are, how pretty you are, how funny you are. If your energy is off, you're not getting what you want. Not in love, not in friendship, not in business. Everything is energy. Now, let me break it down for you. Energy is like a mirror. You put it out, you get it back. It doesn't lie. You can't fake it for long. You can't hide it. You can't talk your way around it. A man doesn't care how many times you say, I'm fine, if your energy screams, I'm desperate, I'm insecure, I'm needing you. He feels it. He senses it. Energy is your truth, whether you want it to be or not. And here's the thing, ladies. If you want a man to notice you, if you want him to reach out, if you want him to invest his time, his attention, his emotions, you've got to get your energy right first. See, too many women make the mistake of trying to manipulate situations. They think if I text him every day, if I answer his calls right away, if I drop everything for him, he's going to chase me. But that's not how it works. That's not energy. That's neediness disguised as love. And let me tell you, neediness smells a mile away. It's like a flashing neon sign that says, I need you, I need your attention, I need your validation. And when a man sees that, he doesn't reach out. He pulls back. He loses interest. Why? Because energy is not about pleading. Energy is about presence, confidence, and authenticity. I want you to imagine this. Think about the most magnetic people you know, the ones everyone gravitates toward, the ones who don't have to try hard. You know who I'm talking about. They walk into a room and people notice. They speak and people listen. They don't demand attention, they command it naturally. Why? Because of their energy. Their energy matches their value. Their energy communicates without words. They project confidence, calmness, and self-respect, and people respond to that. Energy is the unspoken language that speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Now, let's bring this back to relationships. When you understand your own energy, when you know what you project, you start to see how men respond. You see, men are hunters by nature. They chase what challenges them, what excites them, what feels alive and authentic. If your energy is weak, anxious, or needy, he's not going to chase it. If your energy is strong, steady, and balanced, suddenly he's intrigued. Suddenly he wants to be near you. Suddenly he reaches out. And it's not manipulation, it's just energy. You match what he gives, you reflect it, and it pulls him toward you naturally. Here's another thing about energy. It's contagious. You ever walk into a room and feel someone's negativity or someone's joy? You can't help it. You feel it. That's energy. People pick it up instantly, and that includes men. They can tell if you're stressed, if you're upset, if you're desperate, even if you hide it behind a smile. And they can tell if you're calm, confident, and centered. That energy draws them in. So the first step to making a man reach out is to control your own energy. Own it. Master it. Be aware of what you're putting out into the world. Now, I know this isn't always easy. I know it's hard when you care about someone. I know it's hard when you want their attention, when you want to hear from them, when you want them to notice you. But let me tell you something. This is where power comes from. Real power, real influence. It doesn't come from chasing. It doesn't come from begging. It comes from holding your energy steady. It comes from being yourself and letting that energy do the work for you. When you project calm, confidence, and self-respect, men notice it, and the ones worth your time will respond. I want you to understand something else about energy. It's always honest. It never lies. You can fake it for a little while, but eventually the truth comes out. That's why people who are authentic, who know themselves, who project the energy of someone grounded in their own worth always attract the right people. You don't have to run after anyone. You don't have to beg. You don't have to manipulate. You just have to be aware of your energy and make sure it matches the life you want to live and the relationships you want to attract. So, ladies, I'm telling you, when it comes to getting a man to reach out, to notice you, to chase you, it starts with energy. It starts with the way you hold yourself, the way you feel inside, the vibe you radiate. Stop trying to force attention. Stop trying to be what you think he wants. Start being the woman you are and let your energy do the talking. Reflect strength, reflect calm, reflect confidence, reflect self-respect, because energy is everything, and when you get it right, everything else falls into place naturally. Remember, your energy is your power. Your energy is your truth. Your energy is your message. If you want a man to reach out, match your energy to the life you want. Hold it steady, hold it strong, and watch how he responds. Energy doesn't lie. It's real, it's magnetic, and when you master it, you master the art of connection. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real. There's a law in relationships that a lot of people don't understand, and it's simple, but it works every single time. Men respond to challenge. They respond to balance. They respond to energy that isn't frantic, desperate, or overbearing. And when you, as a woman, match his energy instead of chasing, suddenly he notices. And not just notices, he reaches out. He shows up. He starts paying attention in ways he wasn't doing before. That, my friends, is the truth. See, the problem is so many women think they have to bend over backward to keep a man's attention. They think if they text him all the time, answer his calls immediately, or drop everything for him, he's going to fall in love. But let me tell you something. He doesn't respect that. He doesn't chase that. Men are hunters by nature. They are wired to pursue, to notice, to go after what challenges them. When a woman is too available, too predictable, too eager, she removes the challenge. She removes the excitement. She removes the mystery. And when that happens, the man drifts away. But here's the magic. When you match his energy, you create balance. You're not chasing, but you're not cold or unavailable either. You're steady, consistent, and confident. You show him that you're aware of what you want, you value yourself, and you're not going to waste your time on games or drama. That energy is magnetic. That energy is powerful. That energy makes a man stop and think, wait a minute. She's not desperate. She's not overreacting. She's steady. I want to be in that space with her. Think about it for a second. You've been in situations where a man pulls back, right? Maybe he's texting less. Maybe he's acting distant. Maybe he's not giving you the attention you feel like you deserve. And what do most women do? They panic. They start texting more, calling more, posting more, trying harder to get him to notice. And what does that do? It pushes him even further away. Why? Because that energy is chaotic. That energy is needy. That energy is unbalanced. Men are wired to respond to balance, to challenge, to a woman who doesn't need them but chooses to be with them. Now, let me break down what it means to match his energy. It doesn't mean you play games. It doesn't mean you pretend to be cold or act like you don't care. No, it's much deeper than that. It's about awareness. It's about understanding his pace, his vibe, his natural rhythm, and reflecting that back in a way that shows confidence, self-respect, and balance. If he's giving light energy, don't go overboard with heavy energy. If he's calm and slow, meet him there instead of rushing. When you match his energy, you're communicating without words that you in control, grounded, and aware of the dynamic between you two, and that's irresistible. Let me give you an example. A man texts you a couple of times during the day. If you respond instantly with a dozen messages, you're overcorrecting. You're throwing off the energy. But if you match his pace, responding thoughtfully, keeping your own life moving, showing that you have boundaries and priorities, he notices. He sees that you're balanced. He sees that you're confident. And suddenly, he feels the pull to reach out. Why? Because men are wired to respond to women who challenge them, who maintain their own energy, who aren't chasing. He feels the tension, the balance, and he wants to close the gap. That's how attraction works. That's how attention works. And here's another thing about matching energy. It creates respect. When a woman always bends, always chases, always overextends herself, a man doesn't respect her. But when you mirror his energy, calm when he's calm, engaged when he's engaged, but not frantic or desperate, he starts respecting you. He sees that you are grounded, that you have standards, that you know your worth. Respect is magnetic. And once a man respects you, he starts to care more, reach more, and invest more. So, ladies, I want you to understand this. It's not about manipulation. It's not about playing games or being tricky. It's about presence. It's about awareness. It's about showing up as a woman who knows herself, who understands energy, and who doesn't let neediness dictate her actions. When you do this, when you match his energy instead of chasing, the dynamic flips. The man who seemed distant, who seemed unavailable, who seemed hard to reach, now reaches out. Now he calls. Now he texts. Now he makes an effort. And that's not luck. That's strategy. That's awareness. That's energy at work. Ladies, I'm telling you, this is powerful. Stop trying to force attention. Stop trying to be everything for him. Match his energy. Be balanced, be aware, be confident. Let him see that you're in control of your own life and your own feelings. That is magnetic. That is irresistible. That is how you make a man notice you without ever begging. The beautiful thing is, once you get this, you're not just changing how he behaves, you're changing the way you show up in every relationship, in every connection, in every area of your life. Remember, men respond to challenge. Men respond to balance. Men respond to energy. When you match his energy, you communicate strength, confidence, and self-respect. You show him that you are steady, that you are aware, and that you don't need to chase. And when you do that, ladies, the right men don't run, they reach out. That's how energy works. That's how attraction works. That's how respect works. And once you understand this, you'll never chase again. You'll only attract effortlessly, naturally, and powerfully. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. This is the secret that most women don't get, and it's simple, but it's life-changing. Detachment is power. I'm serious. It's not coldness. It's not playing games. It's not pretending you don't care. Detachment is about holding your own energy, standing in your own truth, and refusing to chase someone who isn't showing up in the way you deserve. When you detach, when you stop chasing, something magical happens. Suddenly, the man who seemed distant, the man who seemed unavailable, he starts moving towards you. He notices, he reaches out, he wants to connect. And it's all because you stopped giving him power over your emotions. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, Steve, I can't just detach. I care about him. I want him to love me. I want his attention. And I get it. I feel you. But here's the thing. When you chase, when you bend, when you sacrifice your own peace just to get someone else to notice you, you're giving away your power. You're telling him that your happiness depends on him. And when a man senses that, he doesn't respect it. He doesn't feel the pull. He doesn't reach out. He drifts away because neediness repels him. But when you detach, when you stop running after him, when you stop over texting, over explaining, over caring, you send a very different message. You send the message that you value yourself. You send the message that you are whole on your own. You send the message that your life doesn't revolve around whether he shows up or not. And when a man feels that energy, he can't help but respond. He notices. He starts making an effort. He starts reaching out. That, ladies, is power. That is influence. That is control without manipulation. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop giving away your emotional power. You stop trying to control his actions. You stop trying to force connection. You focus on your own energy, your own life, your own growth. And when you do that, the man who once seemed distracted suddenly becomes more attentive. The man who once seemed uninterested suddenly becomes curious. The man who once seemed distant suddenly starts to close the gap. That's how energy works. That's how attraction works. That's how detachment moves the needle in your favor. Let me break it down for you. Think about it. When you chase, you're creating imbalance. You're giving him too much and he's receiving too easily. There's no tension, no challenge, no spark. But when you detach, when you stop chasing, when you match his energy instead, you create balance, you create curiosity, you create anticipation, you create a pull that can't be ignored. And here's the thing, it's not about him. It's about you. It's about your presence, your confidence, your self-respect. And when that energy is strong, men respond every single time. Now, I know this isn't easy. I know it's hard to sit back and not react when you care about someone. I know it's tempting to text, call, or reach out just to see if he's thinking about you. But let me tell you something. Resistance builds respect. Detachment builds desire. Patience builds attraction. And when you master the art of detachment, you don't just make a man reach out, you change the entire dynamic of your relationships forever. Detachment is not about punishing him. It's not about giving him the cold shoulder. It's about creating space for him to step up. It's about showing him that your worth is not negotiable. It's about letting him see the value of your presence without you having to spell it out. And here's the beauty of it. When you detach, you also give yourself freedom. You free yourself from anxiety, from neediness, from overthinking, from chasing someone who isn't fully invested. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your peace. And let me tell you, that freedom, that confidence, that self-respect, that is magnetic. That pulls him in like nothing else. I've seen it over and over. Women come to me frustrated and exhausted, telling me, Steve, I don't understand why he's not reaching out. I text, I call, I try to show him I care. And I tell them, stop, detach, hold your energy, match his energy, watch what happens. And almost every time within days, the man who seemed distant, the man who seemed uninterested, starts to reach out. Why? Because he feels the power of detachment. He feels that balance. He feels that energy, and he's drawn to it. That is the law of attraction at work. That is human psychology at work. That is the truth. So, ladies, I want you to understand this. Detachment is not a weakness. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is not playing games. Detachment is strength. Detachment is power. Detachment is the ultimate move in relationships because it shifts the energy, it creates balance, and it makes the right man see your value and want to engage with you. When you detach, when you stop chasing, when you focus on yourself and your energy, you are no longer at the mercy of his attention. You are in control of your own life, your own emotions, and your own happiness. And that, my friends, is irresistible. Remember this. Stop chasing. Start matching. Stop giving away your power. Or start holding your energy. Watch him move. Watch him reach out. Watch the dynamic shift in ways you never imagined. Detachment is not absence, it's presence. Presence of self, presence of value, presence of power. And when you harness that, nothing can stop the right man from noticing, from chasing, and from showing up for you the way you deserve. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to listen carefully because this is one of the biggest truths in life, in love, and in relationships. And yet so many people get it wrong. Confidence and self-respect attract more than neediness ever could. That's right. You can try all the texting, all the calling, all the bending over backward, and it will never replace the magnetic power of a woman who knows her worth, holds her ground, and refuses to settle for less than she deserves. Confidence and self-respect are like a magnet. They draw the right people to you, and they naturally repel those who aren't serious, who aren't invested, or who don't value you. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Steve, confidence is hard. Self-respect is hard. Sometimes I just feel like I need to show him I care or he won't notice me. And I get it. I understand that. It's natural to want attention, to want love, to want validation. But here's the truth. You don't get respect by begging. You don't get admiration by overextending. You don't get love by losing yourself in someone else's world. Confidence and self-respect start with knowing your worth and holding it no matter what. That is what changes the game. That is what makes a man reach out when before he was distant. Think about it for a second. A woman who constantly chases a man is sending a message that she depends on him for her happiness, that she doesn't trust her own value, that she's willing to sacrifice her dignity just to keep him interested. And when a man feels that, he doesn't chase, he doesn't respect, he doesn't invest. But a woman who knows her worth, a woman who holds herself with pride and integrity, a woman who doesn't compromise her standards, oh, she's magnetic. Men notice her, they respect her, they are drawn to her naturally, And it's not even about effort, it's about energy. Confidence and self-respect are energy, and energy is irresistible. Let me give you an example. A man texts a woman and she responds with calm, measured energy. She doesn't overthink it. She doesn't bombard him with messages or overanalyze what he said or didn't say. She responds with awareness of her own time, her own life, and her own value. That energy communicates confidence without words. That energy communicates self-respect without even trying. And he notices it. He respects it. He feels drawn to it. Contrast that with a woman who panics, who responds instantly with a flood of messages, who waits by the phone for him. What happens? He feels pressure. He feels suffocated. He feels like he's losing respect for her. Confidence and self-respect always win. Neediness never does. Here's the thing about confidence. It's quiet, but it speaks volumes. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to beg. Confidence is knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, and not settling for less than that. When you carry yourself with that kind of energy, people respond naturally. Men respond. They reach out. They engage. They want to be around that kind of woman. And it's not just romantic relationships. Confidence and self-respect influence every interaction in life. People sense it. They respect it. And they are drawn to it. Self-respect is equally important. You see, a woman with self-respect doesn't tolerate mistreatment. She doesn't allow disrespect. She doesn't sacrifice her standards for attention. She knows that she deserves effort, care, and loyalty. And when a man sees a woman who refuses to settle, who holds her boundaries, who values herself enough to walk away if necessary, it changes everything. Suddenly, he's motivated. Suddenly, he wants to show up. Suddenly, he recognizes her value because she never gave it away for free. Self-respect is power, and power attracts. Now, I want you to think about this in terms of energy again. Confidence and self-respect are like a frequency. People feel it, whether you speak or not. They sense it in your posture, your words, your actions, your boundaries. And when that energy is consistent, it commands attention without you having to chase. Neediness is frantic, scattered, and exhausting. Confidence is calm, steady, and magnetic. Neediness pushes people away. Confidence pulls them in. That's the difference. That's why confidence and self-respect attract more than neediness ever could. Ladies, I want you to understand that confidence and self-respect are not traits you're born with. They're cultivated. They're built by making choices every day to honor yourself, to prioritize your happiness, to respect your own time and energy. They're built by refusing to overextend, by refusing to chase, by refusing to compromise your standards for attention. And the more you cultivate them, the stronger your energy becomes. The stronger your energy, the more magnetic you become. The more magnetic you are, the more men respond. And that's how you flip the dynamic in your favor. I've seen it over and over again. Women come to me frustrated, exhausted, begging for attention, trying to chase men who don't care. And I tell them, stop, step back, focus on your confidence, focus on your self-respect, hold your boundaries, stop giving away your energy. And almost every time within days, the man who seemed distant, who seemed uninterested, starts reaching out. Why? Because energy is everything. Confidence and self-respect are irresistible. Neediness is repelling. It's that simple. So ladies, remember this. You don't have to chase. You don't have to beg. You don't have to overextend. Confidence and self-respect are your secret weapons. They're your power. They're your magnet. When you stand tall, when you hold your energy, when you refuse to settle, men notice, they chase, they reach out, they engage. And it's not about tricks or manipulation. It's about being the woman you were always meant to be. Confident, self-respecting, and completely unshakable. Confidence and self-respect attract more than neediness ever could. Hold on to that truth. Build it, protect it, and watch how your life and relationships transform. Once you embrace that energy, nothing can stop the right people from noticing you, valuing you, and showing up for you the way you deserve.